of this act. And so once these regulations have been published, the public participation process will thus then begin. Much has been said about this piece of legislation, and at times it has regrettably been used as a political football. I now want to make it clear that the time for that is now over. I will not tolerate any weaponizing of this legislation for political means. The future of this country and our learners depends on us being able to do our work. The debate around mother tongue education is an important one. Mother tongue education has been proven to assist learners to achieve good learning outcomes. It is important, therefore, that this act is not used to undermine any language that is selected for teaching and learning. All 12 official languages are protected by the Constitution. Additionally, our schools should not be used as a battleground for narrow political interests. Our schools must be places of safety and learning for our learners. And so I will guard against this. I also want to make it crystal clear that I will be guided by the rule of law and the oath of office that I took. And so I am warning today that any person who seeks to victimize schools or school children outside of the rule of law will be dealt with harshly. The development of regulations, norms and standards and policy will be determined by me in conjunction with the public, as the President has determined in the commencement presidential minute that he signed yesterday. Above all, I do want to remind South Africans that we need to place children at the heart of everything that we do in making this BELA Act a reality. All 13.5 million learners are my responsibility, and I will seek to protect them at all costs. Learners in South Africa deserve a quality education system, and I'm committed to ensuring that that happens and that they receive that at all times. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions, colleagues.
Minister, good afternoon. Mariska Botha from the SABC. We've already heard certain organizations speaking out against this. Do you expect there to be any legislation on the matter? And are you ready for that process if it should take place?
Cool. Legal challenge. Anyone else?
Yes, Madam Chair. In terms of NASA, just in terms of clarity on the timelines, I think the one thing that's on top of people's minds is now, so when will the regulations and guidelines be there for the bill to actually be implemented? Can you please just give some more clarity with regard to the timelines?
Okay, cool. All right. Right. Let me handle these two questions first. On the issue around legal challenges, look, I mean, the process is as follows. The President assents to the bill and he commences it. And I countersign that as a minister in the government. And so if there are organizations that seek to take this on review and bring it before a court of law, we will then as a government have to defend the position. And so we are ready to receive any legal challenges. And I think it's also just important to say that if this matter is taken to court, that perhaps instead of it being the subject to political contestation, that perhaps the court is not a bad place for the determination of whether or not this law and this act meets legal muster. And so I do not discourage organizations from exercising their right to being able to access the courts. But as I've indicated, that will be done on the basis of a legal challenge against the government. And then on the issue around timelines, and Llewellyn, you're absolutely right, people are interested in the timelines. But I also want to make this clear, that guidelines and regulations in particular take time because of the public participation element of it. However, I have committed to moving with pace because I would like there to be legal clarity that is given to the sector as soon as possible. I want us to draw the line now in this matter So we can implement the bill that is supported by guidelines and regulations. And so that's why this is a multi-pronged approach. Number one, I would like guidelines to be sent. I've instructed the team to send guidelines to all public schools by the end of January 2025. I would like the regulations to be published for public comment by no later than 30th of June 2025. That then takes the process to the public participation part. And so, of course, I can't then determine how long that will take. But then, of course, as I'm saying, I've instructed the DG that I would like the publication of these regulations to be done by June of next year. Happy to take any further questions. Kevin?
Minister, I'm Kevin Grant from ENCA. I would just like to know, is the education system in its current state at capacity to allow for this pivot when it comes to the issue of language, when we've over the past year heard how budget cuts have impacted the schooling system, brimming classrooms? Can we then practically make this shift to make this a reality?
Okay.
Can I also just add on Kevin's question? The President also said that one of the things that must be looked at is the preparedness of the education system for grade R. And how will that be handled, because the school's opening in January and grade R can't wait till middle of the year to go to school. So how will that process kind of go?
Minister, Mariska, again from the SABC, as you mentioned there, the timelines. So for all practical purposes, the law as it is there now, when will it then be implemented in full?
Okay. So perhaps let me start off with Mariska's question. When will the law be implemented in full? So when the President commences with the Act, he is in effect saying legally that the Act is now operational in full. Now, the reason why regulations, norms and standards, policy and regulations and guidelines are needed is so that to give legal clarity to sections of that legislation. And you raise an important point around budgets and the pressure under which the department is under to roll out compulsory grade R, to look at including additional languages in schools to promote mother tongue. Yes, those things will take significant investment. And this is the case that I intend to make to the Minister of Finance, to say, since the President has commenced with this immediately, we are now under pressure to make sure that we can deliver compulsory grade R. And that's why I'm saying that the guidelines that we are sending, and that's why there's urgency, that I want there to be at least guidelines that are sent to the provinces and to schools to be able to say, how do you handle grade R if perhaps you were not yet ready to receive a grade R class, so that they can get the guidance from the national department on how do they deal with something like that. And that's why the guidelines are there to help them navigate this new reality while regulations are being developed. But yes, it does now mean that we as a system have to make sure that even though about 60% of the system provides grade R, we have to make sure now that we regularize even ECD centers that offer grade R. We have to make sure now that we have greater scrutiny there, that they are registered so that they can form part of the education system. So there's plenty of work to be done. But I want to assure South Africans that I am committed to moving with pace. But we need to make sure that we do this correctly, because my guiding light here is ensuring that the 13.5 million learners in South Africa are given an opportunity to have a quality education. And so I have to make sure that in doing so, the department and I are guided by that, and we place their interests at the center of all that we do. So there is plenty of work to get the system regularized and get it ready. And so that is why then the timelines become important. So I suppose I'm answering the question, Mariska, in a technical way. When will the Act be fully implemented? Well, it's implementable right now. However, the system needs to kick into gear. And the system is not at a place where there are certain things that can be done as of yet. But the president has commenced with it. So now we are moving at pace to make sure that the system catches up with that announcement. All right. It seems as though there's no further questions. Thank you so much, everybody. Much appreciated.
Thank you.